fancy parts. We'll be working on it, installing nice ARP studs today. Important that all the holes are cleaned out. Just a little blast of air and some brake cleaner acetone, get the holes clean. You want to be able to thread these in. See, right away I'm not threading that one in by hand. We can come back to that one, but once one is installed all the way, it's a little tight, but there we go. We pretty much know our installed height. Our nice Stomsky racing tool, which can be adjusted for any height you like, short or longer. But I know that's our good height here, so we can lock that down. So that's our height there. Now this one, a little stubborn. Use a stud installer. I can tighten up here. As long as you're not using excessive force to drive these in. Like I said, you would like to do them by hand, but sometimes they just need a little help. There we go. And you don't want to bottom it out, drive them into the hole even farther, but take our tool off. Double check our length. Actually, that one in went a little deeper, so I think I'm gonna get this one to go in just a tiny bit more. That one's not wanting to go. So, right off the bat, we run into one that doesn't want to go all the way in. You just back it out, make sure the hole's clean, make sure there's no debris down in there. A little shot of air and we'll try again. There we go. See, some of them go all the way in nice and easy. Some just need a little help. Beautiful. Now repeat the other side. Now we're at the point where we're going to install a piston and wrist pin without the rings on it, just dry. Doesn't matter on what cylinder, you can do 1 or 4. I prefer to do 4. So we're gonna get this installed. Now these wrist pins and these pistons are very tight. So all we're doing now is just checking, we're going to be checking the installed deck height of the piston in the cylinder. And that's the reason for installing these without the rings, because we're going to be taking it back off anyway. So. Use a little heat here. It's not an interference fit, but it is very precise fit for the wrist pin to the piston. Just a little bit of heat. All right, we don't need to get all the way in because we are going to come back out. So, our piston's in. Be gentle with that. One other thing I like to do before I get too far is use rubber band to just help keep the rods from sliding in and out of the crankcase. Not 100% necessary, but the less chance you have to damage the case here, the better. And as you can see, you can see it, but there's nothing there. It just leaves a little mark when the rod rides up and down. But you do that enough, or you do it hard enough, that can actually leave a ridge here, and that can cause a leak. So now we have our cylinder, our base gasket, and this just makes it a little easier without the rings on to guide these on without damaging them. Guide the piston in. Never want to force anything, just nice and gentle. But now we're down. Take our fancy cylinder hold down tool. Tighten that down. I'm actually going to grab another one. So we're simulating that the cylinder is installed. Obviously not torqued, but we're going to get it close to TDC. Take our handy dandy dial caliper. And I like to check it up here on the side. You can check on the top, you can check on the bottom, but you do have some piston rock, and it's going to be the least amount of rock in the center. So I get my tip down on the piston, and then I'm going to get the caliper nice and square on the cylinder. This does take a little bit of finesse, a little bit of feel, but once you get the caliper square, you can, rotate the cylinder up. You can hold it here. And we're keeping it square as we're rotating up. Basically 2 TDC and beyond, and it'll go back down. Now our number here, some people like the digital, I prefer the dial. My red needle here is in metric, so 0 down here would be 1. I've got about 1.4 millimeters. That equates to about 55 thousandths of an inch. Our piston manufacturer wants 40 thousandths to 60 thousandths. So that's That's right in our range of what we want. If we needed more, we can add a base gasket. If we needed less, we could go to a thinner base gasket. But seeing as we're using the standard 1/4 millimeter base gasket, that's right in our range. So we know that the deck height is good. So now we can take this back off. Being careful not to hurt the base gasket on the way out or drop the piston. There we go.
Don't mind me.
Coming in hot.
Ooh, gap and piston rings.
Gap and piston rings.
That's fun.
You betcha.
It's satisfying.
It is.
I know you're busy for the next couple hours.
No.
What were you recording?
Stuff.
What?
Stuff.
How do you like your new stand over here?
I like it.
Throwing you off or what?
Not really.
Good positioning for you?
Yeah, it works.
Haven't worked on it, so I wouldn't know.
Doing some math here.
Math is the reason I became an art major.
So we just want to know the bore times what their spec is, 5 thousandths of an inch times the bore for the top ring. The second ring is 5.5 thousandths times the bore, so that's going to be 100 millimeters divided by metric. There's our inches. Multiply that by, oops, wrong number. Times 0.55. So our middle ring, 21 thousandths of an inch. And our oil ring, a minimum of 15 thousandths. So no math required. So here we're just checking piston ring end gap. Our top rings here, middle rings, and our oil control rings. The rings always have, not always, but 99% of the time will have a marking. Excuse me, the marking will be the top of the ring. So we just want to install these in the cylinder. And we can use a piston, kind of cheat to get them square. Push it down just shy of an inch from the top of the piston, or top of the cylinder. Get our trusty feeler gauges here. So we know our ring gap, we're going to want 19 thousandths of an inch for the top ring. We got our 19. Judging there, looking at it already, I can tell you it's not going to fit. But for grins, there's our 19, no fit. So before I just start grinding, I kind of would like to know how much our gap is. So let's try half, or let's try a little less than half of that. Let's try 8. Just to know how much we have to go. This one's even tighter. Oh, 8 fits. Try 10. Make sure one's not stuck. 10 fits, got a little bit of drag. So we're at 10 thousandths of an inch. We need to get to 19. Head on over to our trusty ring grinding tool. There's contact. Don't want to go too much. Also don't want to go too little. Try to get it in one hit. Then before I put it back in the cylinder, I always like to take just a small hand file. Just get the sharp edges. And repeat. Little bigger gap. 10 fits no problem. So again, we're shooting for 19. Just a little shy. I can get it started, but not in. Still just a little shy. I'm going to try, let me try 18 or 17 just to see how close I am. I see 17 is good up until the very last bit. So, once you get the feel for how much you need to take off each ring, you can kind of get a better shot at it, but the first one you kind of want to creep up on. Square it up and tighten down. Where I make contact, right about at 10, and I can put some pressure until about 20. So I'm not taking off 0.010 of an inch by doing that, but you can just kind of get the feel for how much. Just using it as a gauge. Okay. There, now 17 fits. Still being a little cautious here, but trying to take 1 to 2 thousandths of an inch off of this. You just don't want to go too much. There we go. Okay, that's one. 5 more. I like to take each one, and I'm going to keep this with this cylinder, so I'm going to put it off to the side. Now I move on to the second and the 2 oil control rings, repeat the process, but these rings now will stay with this cylinder. Even though they all measure the same, just in case one is slightly different, then they're all filed to each cylinder. So this one I'm looking for 21 thousandths. Seeing as it's close, we'll start with 19. 19 fits no problem. Just a little tight. So we'll file this one. No problem. Now, for each oil control ring, there's 2 of these per cylinder. There's only 1 oil control ring, but there's a top and bottom, whatever you want to call these. And these little flimsy guys, we just want to make sure there's a minimum of 15 thousandths. Got our 15. And these are so goofy. But yeah, 15 fits. We're good. Check the second. Beautiful. There's one. Install those, or put those together. 5 more to go.
All right, time lapse time.
Yep, pretty much. Okay, those are gapped, and we can install them all on the pistons, and I shall return. On to the next step of installing the piston rings. Again, a process that takes a little bit with all 6, but we'll show you one and kind of move through the next. We got the oil control ring on, just making sure that the separation doesn't overlap. You know, you want it to just butt up against itself. And just kind of, I keep track of where it's at. So then we have the top and bottom, they're the same, of not top and bottom rings, but top and bottom of the oil control. These I like to stagger away from the split in the ring itself. So this one we just get on top. All right, got that. And then the other, seeing as I'm coming up from the bottom, I can just flip it over. And we're just walking it up into its groove. So the important thing there is just making sure that both of the flat rings are not together and that they're opposite of the opening in the oil control. So my opening's up top. I try to keep it up top just so when I know I'm installing it in the engine, the top of the piston will have, or the top of the oil control ring is aligned with the top of the piston, less likely for oil to get past that. So that's the bottom. Now we're going to take our middle ring, looking for the markings. Markings always face up. And I can just hook that into its groove. There you go. There's the middle ring. And our top ring, same markings. I like to just get these here, use your thumbs. You gotta be a little careful because they are sharp, but if you can sort of line it in the groove, you can just expand it. And then we're pushing that down. Missed the groove here, but there we go. Top, middle, and oil ring installed. So just for right now, I like to keep the two openings together at the top, just so when I go to install them, they're all in the same place. Once we install, I do like to pivot one down to about the middle ring here, and then the opposite ring over to about 11 and 2, 10 and 2, somewhere in there, but above the horizontal plane.
All right.
There's one. Pistons are so shiny. Hard to see the rings when they get in the grooves. You always just want to make sure that, you know, once you go to collapse or once you go to compress the rings, that they go into the grooves nicely. This one, as I'm pushing on it, is not wanting to go into the groove nicely, so you just kind of spin it, see what's going on with it. If you have to, you can always pull the ring back off, which I'm going to do. See what's going on there. There it goes. There we go. There we go. Now's the fun part. They're so loud.
Hey, shut the f up!
Fast trying to film. I'll be honest, man, I kind of forgot you were in here.